Hi everyone, welcome back. In today's episode, we're gonna be kind of just talking about like my past dating history and just kind of like funny dating stories. I feel like it'd be kind of fun to share how tragic it can get. I feel like it would also make people feel better about themselves. Like genuinely, like I feel like hearing these stories, people will be like, you know what, maybe my dating life actually isn't that bad. To be fair, like it hasn't been all bad. Like I can't. Hello. So I'm gonna start with one that's kind of like probably I shouldn't start with this one, but I feel like this one's kind of like it's like low key not funny, but like I can laugh at it now. Like it's kind of like haha, like like one of those like I survived, but like can now laugh about it kind of stories. But this was when I was like really young. I don't think I met him off like a dating app or anything like that. I definitely met him off like social media. Um, and like I was like okay, like we'll meet up, blah blah blah. So we met up like kind of halfway, and that's what happened to be like Glasgow. And I don't think he was like really like he didn't know much about Glasgow or that, like he didn't know any places or stuff like that, and obviously we were young at the time, so like I wasn't 18 or that to go out drinking or like do anything like that. So the halfway point was Glasgow, so we met there, and honestly I was like low-key nervous, like I was so like anxious to meet people, like stuff like that, especially if like they'd kind of been like showed an interest in you. I wasn't expecting anything to come out of it, but it's one of those ones where it's like you could get a new friend out of it, so it's so worth it. So I went, got the train there, and as soon as I got there, he's like, I have to go pick him up. And I'm like, all right, okay. Which is fine because obviously he doesn't know the area. Then again, like, I'm not exactly from Glasgow either. Like, I'm not like clued up on it either at this point. So I'm like, okay, like, it's fine. Like, I'll go. I went to Central Station and I picked him up. And genuinely, like, I'm not going to lie, like, it looked fuck all like his pictures. Like, genuinely, like, when I seen him, I was like, no way, like, I've fucked up. It's one of those ones where it's like, when someone doesn't smile or you can't genuinely see their full face. It's like, I don't know, like these pictures were just like too safe. Like he played it safe with his pictures and stuff like that. So like when I actually met him, I was like, oh my god, like you really don't look like your pictures. I digress. I moved past that. I was like, you know what, it's fine. So we ended up going a walk, and I was like, so where do you want to go? Like we thought we'd maybe go for something to eat, something like that. And then he's just like, so basically like, I've got no money. And I was like, all right, okay. Should have been a red flag at that point, but I didn't want to judge anyone and just like not having a lot of money or anything like that. Like, we've all been in like tight, like had like tight times, like, so I'm like, it's all right, like don't worry about it. So we ended up going to McDonald's. I swear, we ended up going to McDonald's and sitting there, and I swear to God, like I felt so bad for him. Like I honestly was like, oh my god, like I don't know, I just kind of was like, oh, like rather than like it was so awkward. Like I genuinely felt immediately bad for him and just was not attracted to him at all in the slightest. Like I just felt like I had to take care of him. So we got food and stuff like that, and I remember I just couldn't finish mine, and I was like, oh, like I'm just gonna leave it, and he's like, can I have it? And I'm like, yeah, like have my chicken selects and my chips, mate, like you're all good. Like so I just give it. He's eating this ferally, like I swear to God, like I've never seen anyone eat food like this in my life. And I'm just sat there like, like all done up. Like I actually got ready and stuff like that, and I put so much effort into it, and I was like, this is like, I am genuinely delusional for this. Like I am honestly big mistake. Again, another major red flag was when he started chewing the food like he'd not been fed in like fucking months. I'm like, what the hell? But I didn't want to judge him. I was like, like this man, like where's this man came from? Like I felt kind of bad. Like immediately I don't think like I'm just gonna leave him. Immediately I'm like, I need to help him. Like I need to save him. Like the savior complex kicked in. I'm like, oh my god. And I'm like, so what do you want to do next? Like where do you want to go? He's like, so I have literally no money. Like I can't go anywhere. And I don't know if he was maybe offering me to be like, oh, I'll take us somewhere. But back then, being that age too, I didn't really have a lot of money either, so I wasn't just about to pay for a whole ass man. Like, like I wasn't about to pay for him and be like, okay, I'll take us all out for dinner. I just feel like that's just so, like not great, like not a great first impression. And I feel like if I did that, then he'd walk all over me. So I was like, no, I need to stand my ground here and not, so maybe then he'll be like, oh, we could do this. This man never said a thing. Like I swear to God, like he was fine with doing nothing. Like he just wanted to be there. Like he was happy to just be in a new place. It was so crazy. Like we went down, we literally sat at Clydeside for like We ended up sitting in Clyde's side for literally like 3 hours. I swear to God, and we just talked. And every time he would just like shuffle closer to me or like do anything like that, I was like, I just back off. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I couldn't do it. And this one thing, like the most unbearable thing ever happened, and all he did was just talk about the Beatles. Like, I don't know, like if that's like a red, I don't know if that's like a red flag in itself, but I swear to God, this man just talked about the Beatles the whole time. Like, he literally just sat there waffling on, and I was like, I don't even like the Beatles, like, genuinely, like, I was like, I don't listen to any of that, like, I was just sitting there, like, staring at him, like, you know, I'm happy for you, you know, like, cool. And eventually I was just like, listen, you should get your next train back, like, we should go, like, he tried, like, again, he was doing this awkward shuffle, like, I don't know if you've, like, ever been on a date with a guy, and they're just, like, they don't have the confidence to fully make a move, so they'll just, like, weirdly, like, shuffle themselves closer to you on this fucking, like, bench, and every time he would shuffle up closer, I would just shuffle away. It was the most awful thing I've ever done in my entire life. I felt heavy bad because I was like, he's clearly into me, and I felt so terrible at this point. Like, I genuinely felt awful, like, hope he was okay, like, genuinely, like, but I was like, okay, we should get your train. I literally remember dropping him off at the train station and then going to get my train, and it was the most, like, backwards thing ever. Like, I was expecting him to be like, oh, I'll take you to your train, blah, 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 but anyway, it happened. I went home, and I literally, like, this man had the audacity to keep messaging me and be like, I can't wait to see you again. And I was like, Lord, have mercy on me. Like, please, for the love of God, just make this man, like, disappear. And I just felt so dead bad. I genuinely remember being like, yeah, like, I think we're better off as friends, blah, blah, blah. So the next day I got to college, and this was literally, like, this was like acting. Like, this was at college, like, straight up, like, not that, well, when I was, like, 17. And I remember going in being like, I literally was 17. That was literally the age I must have been, because that's the age I was when I was in college. And I remember saying to one of my friends at the time, I was like, oh my God, like, she was like, how did the date go? And I'm like, listen, like, I don't even want to call it a date. Like, it genuinely, like, it was traumatizing. Like, that was, like, I honestly felt like it was complete charity work. Like, genuinely, like, I just felt like I was taking care of him. It was awful. I felt like, you know what I mean? And he was just kind of creepy and, like, kind of weird. Like, he just gave off a weird vibe, like, weird energy. And she's like, oh my God, where was he from? And I said where he was from, and she looked at me and she was like, oh, I'm from there. And I was like, oh, cool, like, do you know him? And I remember saying his name, and I genuinely, I've never seen this, like, I've never seen someone's face drop so fast. Her face literally just fell to the floor, like, her jaw just smacks the ground. And I'm like, oh my God, please don't say it's like your ex or like someone you know has been with him or something like that. And she's like, no, Aleah, like, and she's like, serious, like, the happy voice is gone. This is now dead serious. She's now like, Aleah, like, can you come outside with me for like 2 minutes? And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, can you just like come step outside the class for me? And I'm like, yeah, of course, like, yeah, I'll go. So I step at the class for like 2 seconds, and she tells me, she's like, Aleah, like, I know who he is, and like, his dad's a convicted paedophile. And I was like, what? And at first I was like, fair enough, I can't judge him on that. Like, I genuinely can't judge him on that. So I'm like, oh well, what's that got to do with him? You know, like, you can't just, like, you know, the abused don't always become the abuser, or like, you know, someone that's raised by someone like that, they don't always become that person. And then she goes, and he was a weirdo, like, he was a known, renowned weirdo in high school. Like, he used to look up girls' skirts and, like, do all this weird shit to girls. He actually got called into, like, the office numerous times and told off. Like, he had to leave school, like, and I'm just sat there, like, my jaw's on the floor. I'm like, oh my God, like, no way. Like, I literally just went, and I met up with this guy for, like, the whole day, the day before. Like, I was awful. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I genuinely think I had a lucky escape. Like, I genuinely dodged a bullet. I feel like if any second or third dates, like, I'm always, like, on the edge of the danger zone. Like, I'm always just, like, you know, like, on the edge, like, on the brink of it, being like, you know, is something bad gonna happen? But, like, I was alright, so, like, that's fine. But, yeah, that was a close one, and that was genuinely probably my first kind of, like, experience into, like, the dating world, and that was genuinely, like, that haunts me. That's actually genuinely, like, one of the most scary experiences of my life, but it's kind of funny though. Like, genuinely, I can laugh at it now. I mean, like, you gotta, like, if I don't laugh, I'll cry. So yeah, dodged a bullet. It was the fact that these are the types of guys that like me too. Like, it just said a lot to me. I was like, he wanted to see me again. Like, what was I saying right? Do you know what I mean? Like, bro just talked about the Beatles and, like, the fact that, like, he just was, like, I don't even, like, I can't even remember anything else. I just remember he was so Beatles forward. And ever since then, anytime a guy's like, oh yeah, I love the Beatles, I genuinely get shivers. Like, I get goosebumps. I'm like, and like, I'm immediately just like, that's that then. You know, like, catch you actually. Or, but no, I can't judge everyone on that, but I certainly judge guys who like the Beatles. Okay, another one that was like kind of around that time. This was kind of like my first proper boyfriend. And you know what? Like, I was actually this is kind of what gave me the idea. I was just doom scrolling TikTok, and this girl's TikTok came up, and my friend was like, Aleah, like, I think this is about you know who. And I was like, oh my god, what? And me and this guy were not together for like a while. Like, it was one of those ones where I was like young and he was older and he like fucking love bombed me into a relationship, and I agreed because I was like, oh my god, my first boyfriend, like, this will be great. Genuinely the worst experience of my life. Like, honestly, it got worse. Like, I thought, oh my god, it can't get worse. Believe me, it does. Like, it really does. So I went from one predator's son to just another predator, apparently, because he is currently all over a Facebook anonymous group chat right now for getting charged with like, he's literally going to be, well, not charged, but like, he's going to be in court, I'm pretty sure, or been in court, because like, he should be getting charged with an assault, not numerous assault charges. And I'm like, pull up, Paul. Like, I literally, like, I'm scared. Like, I'm literally so scared. Like, for me, I was like, honestly, for these girls, like, it was awful reading it, because like, this man is so, he's so, like, he literally looks like a rat. Like, bro literally looks like the rat from Thirst Away. Like, and I know everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, no, but he's kind of hot. But like, make him so ugly and make him like genuinely like through a sewage pipe. Like, he's so, like, he's just frail looking, and just like, he looks like he's one cigarette away from dying. Like, straight up, he smokes one fag, he's dead. That's how he looks. And that was what my type was. Like, I was like, oh my god, I'm into that. Anyway, like, we were together for a while. Weird things happened with him too. Like, I don't know, I got cheated on and stuff like that. Like, I remember meeting him one time, actually. I shouldn't be laughing at him. Like, I should genuinely be like, this is went from being funny to actually just like a big massive red flag of like, avoid these men here. And this is where I just put all their pictures of them all up and their full names and like, I don't know, like addresses. But no, unfortunately I can't do that quite yet. But once he's charged, I might. I'll tag him in it. But he literally invited me to round to his one time, and I genuinely, like, he had all these like love bites all up his neck, and I was just sat there thinking to myself, like, what the hell have you been doing? Like, and I was so naive. I was so young and so naive. Like, I just wish I could go back and just like slap myself. And I'm like, what's on your neck? Like, are those hickeys? And at this point, like, I genuinely, like, straight up Virgin Mary, like, I genuinely had barely even looked a man in the eyes. So I didn't know what I was looking at, really. Like, I was like, what does a love bite even look like? And I swear to God, I was like 17 at this point. This is so embarrassing too. Like, this was the second guy after that first guy, I'm pretty sure, and this was not good, like, at all. I thought, like, I was going to have a better experience. I was like, surely it cannot get worse, and it did. He would do really weird stuff and, like, genuinely be like, yeah, this is what girlfriends and boyfriends do. And I was like, immediately, what? Like, sir, like, why are you saying that? And obviously the hickeys, I was like, what's that on your neck? And I swear to God, he literally said to me, I was out clubbing last night, because he could go out, he was, like, aged to go out, and he apparently got grabbed in the club in the toilet and pinned against a wall. And this sounds so far-fetched, and genuinely, like, when I say it out loud now, I'm like, why did I believe this? But he got pinned against a wall, and the guy's hands was so big that it, like, his fingers had left individual bruise marks on his neck, and I believed that. I was like, oh my God, babe, are you okay? Like, are you feeling all right? Dead ass believed that, man. And he's like, yeah, like, I'm okay, like, don't worry about me. But yeah, like, I just, like, squared up to him, and, like, you know, he's bigger than me, and I felt awful. Anyway, when I went to this guy's house, right, I met his dad and his mum for the first time too, like, at separate times, because his parents were separated. His dad was mental, and he was warning me about meeting his dad. He was like, by the way, my dad's genuinely mental, like, and like, he said, listed off all these names of conditions and that, and I was like, all right, like, okay, no problem. At this point, I was, like, undiagnosed autistic. Like I genuinely had anxiety up to, like, the high heavens. I was, like, a nervous wreck, like, genuinely. So, like, I'm in this guy's house, like, and you know what? I'm like, you know what? Give him his due. Like, that was actually all right. Like, he was kind of normal. But that was literally the night he was like, this is what girlfriends and boyfriends do. When I was clearly uncomfortable and clearly did not want to go, like, any more than, like, fucking, like, kissing this guy, genuinely. Again, the naivety really got me like through that one. And it literally wasn't until I found out. No, like we went to a gig. He invited me to a gig. We went to a couple gigs, and he actually snuck me into one of them with one of my mates. He was like, "Oh no, I have extra tickets," and I swear to God, he never even. I don't know how he managed it. I think it was one of those ones where it's like that small venue where you go, oh, if you don't have an actual paper ticket, you have to scan it a different bit. And he genuinely, we just walked right through it, and we got away with it. I don't know how to this day we got away with that, but we did. And that was all on him. Like, I took no part in it. Like, genuinely, I took no part. I had no idea. He was like, I have a ticket. Because I remember I bought him something, and he said that he'd bought me those. Do you know what I mean? To make up for it. Anyway, so I digress. So we went to another gig together. And this is when we're like actual boyfriend and girlfriend at this point, you know, like actually genuinely like dating. And it was literally Mac DeMarco. And so it's like the most like romantic gig setting ever. Everyone's like in their couples and that. And I'm feeling like so like obsessed. Like I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. Like being at this gig with my boyfriend who's been with another lass like the night before. Like this is class. Again, I was so naive and was just willing to go with it at this point. It was like my first relationship. So like I kind of cut myself some slack for that. But after the gig, right, he's like obsessed with me the whole time, like genuinely like acting like I am like the love of his life. And then as soon as we leave, he's like, oh, by the way, I'm meeting my friend in town. Because obviously I was only like 17, so I couldn't drink. I didn't have an ID, like genuinely like. So I was like, all right, I'll go home and like you can go out drinking. Again, another major red flag. I should have been like, why? What? Why? Like, who are you meeting? And I cannot get over this. We were walking to Queen Street Station, and he meets this like his pal whilst he says goodbye to me. And again, I'm his girlfriend at this point, but he goes, "See you later, pal," and he just gives me this like weird kind of like thing me hug, and then he just walks off with her, and I'm like, what just happened? Like, what? And I swear to God, I'm looking at this other girl like, oh, like that must just be his friend. Nah. Like, let me tell you, like, see when it's the girl they tell you not to worry about, it's always them. It is always the girl, they're like, oh, she's ugly, she's this, I would never go with her, we're just pals, or like, I don't fancy her in that way. I swear to God, if they slag her off, and they're still, like, friends of her or follow them on some sort of social media, they will get with them. I cannot stress enough, they want them. They literally want you. See if a man speaks bad about you, like, to his girlfriend, he wants you. On God, like genuinely, he literally wants you. Like I hate to say it, it's literally always the one they tell you not to worry about. Honestly, like have anyone else experienced that, or that just like surely that's a universal thing? Like it's literally always the fucking one that they're like, I would never get with her, and then like a week after you broke up, maybe even not a week, that's who they're getting with. Crazy, but you know, men for you. But literally, like I was thinking to myself, what the actual hell? And I was like, okay, go off and have a good time, like pop off king, like, and he kept replying to me and stuff like that, and it was fine. And I had no idea, like even after I'd found out he'd cheated and stuff like that, I didn't know it was with her. Like I had no idea it was her too. So I was thinking to myself, I was like, right, okay, like basically the reason we broke up was like we were meant to be going to a gig together, and then he was like, oh, I can't actually go to this gig, I've actually got another gig booked, and he was going off with another girl, so I was left on my own. Like he lied about having a gig ticket. This man also lied about being in uni, lied about having a car, lied about where he worked. Like genuinely, like I was everything you could lie about, he lied, and I was eating that shit up. I was literally like eating that shit up for breakfast, lunch and dinner. I was going back for seconds. Like honestly, like I was delusional, and it took years of therapy to actually just genuinely be like, stop being so naive. You know, like not everything's going to be like a Cinderella story, Aleah. Like you genuinely can't believe everything a man says. Actually, for that matter, you can't believe anything a man says. Point blank, period. So, literally after that, he broke up with me. The audacity. Yeah, I found out he'd been cheating that night at that other gig. And then I ended up going back and messaging that girl and being like, you know what? Like, hey, like, remember me? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, just to let you know, like, about this guy, like, what was going on that night? And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry, like, I had no idea you guys were dating. Yeah, basically, they were getting together, and they were dating that night. Story of my life. So obviously, like, I'm not exactly the most serial dater, so I can't sit here and be like, wow, I've been on so many dates, because I'm genuinely an idiot, and, like, if anybody has like, shows me red flags, I'm like, can't see them. So I'll end up in a relationship with them eventually, or even like a good situationship. this is another story about one of my exes, and I genuinely feel like he might actually pull up on me if I say this actually now. So he's the one now saying pull up ho. So we were together for a while, and I'm kind of nervous. Like, I'm kind of nervous to share this one because genuinely, like, this is the worst. Like, getting cheated on was bad, but this was mortifying. Like, this was like mentally scarring. Like, genuinely, like the most awful thing ever, and I would never wish that you can. No, this is like these are the types of stories that you can never make up, and people are probably like sitting there thinking like, Aleah, what? And I'm like, no, genuinely, like, but I genuinely could not make this shit up. Like, genuinely, if I was making it up, I would say something so much better than this because I'm so heavily embarrassed. Anyway, that was the disclaimer over. So I was in a relationship with this guy, and it was kind of like COVID time. Oh no, I don't want to say that, and then everyone would be able to figure out. No, anyway, COVID time was for fucking years, so we're fine with saying that. And he would stay at mine quite a bit and stuff, and like, you know, I really liked him, and I say that about all of them. I'm like, yeah, he cheated on me, but I really liked him, man. Like, he was a weirdo, but I liked him. But anyway, this guy, genuinely, I thought things were going good with him. I don't know, it's like they give me like a little bit less, treat me like a little bit less like shit than the last one. I'm like, man, that'll do. Not now, obviously. Again, I was young. Yeah, so he was staying with me. And we were just chilling in my room, and I just remember it being like a nice day, and you know, nothing's went wrong yet. And that's usually when I'm like, what's gonna happen? Like, you know, if something bad hasn't happened like by 12 o'clock, I'm like, right, son, something's bound to happen. So I'm just chilling, and my mum comes up the stairs, and I'm like, oh no, like she's raging, and she just goes, Aleah! And I'm like, oh, great, okay, so what have I done? So I go through, and at this point, I'm shitting myself. Like, my mum never shouts on me. Like, I can't lie. Like, me and her are tight. Me and her are like that. So, like, I tell her everything. She's my conscience, you know? Like, she genuinely, like, she gets me. It's literally, growing up with just her, you tell her everything. I see her more like a big sister but also like a respected adult as well. It's kind of like that, a good relationship we have. So she's shouting, and I'm thinking, I've fucked up. Like, what have I done? Immediately, I'm thinking about all the past shit that I've done in like the past couple of weeks in my head, like that which stuff that she doesn't know about, or like, and I'm thinking, what? She knows everything, Aleah. Like, there's nothing to hide here. So I'm like, right, cool. So it can't be that. So she sits me down, and she just goes, Aleah, was that you? And I'm like, what? She's like, the neighbours just came to the door. And I'm like, okay, and so basically, like, I'm in like a little house that's like up the stairs, and like I've got a downstairs neighbour. I hope she's doing okay. Slay her, like, we love her. So sorry this happened to you, by the way. Hope you're doing okay. Genuinely, don't blame me, because it wasn't me, I swear down. And my mum's like heavy, like, okay, well, she's came to the door and she's talking to me, and I'm like, all right, what does she want? And then my mum's like, she said that she's found something in the garden. And I was like, what? Like, found what in the garden? Like, what could she possibly have found in the garden? We don't even share the same garden at this point, because it's like the kind of half cut type of one. So it's like she gets this bit, we get the other half, that type of thing. She's like, I've just had to go out there and pick up shitey toilet paper off of her grass. And I'm thinking, what? Basically, what my ex-boyfriend now, but my boyfriend at the time had done was he'd blocked my toilet, and instead of, no, he was living with me at this point, and there's a fucking bin, literally, there's a fucking bin with a bin bag in it, like literally a bin liner and everything in the bin for situations like this, you know, like, we're women, we need a bin in the toilet anyway. So I'm thinking to myself, like, right, okay, he'd flung his basically blocked the toilet, had no way of disposing of his shitey covered toilet paper, so he chucked it out my bathroom fucking window. Now, my bathroom window is upstairs, right? And it has this fucking child lock thing on it. Like, it's one of those ones where you can't push it all the way out, so it goes to, like, I swear to God, it goes to about here. So he's literally must have scrumpled it up and, like, slid his hand out my window and chucked it. Just, like, chucked it, right? And I swear to God, see, at that point, I was like, there is no way on earth. And obviously, he's like my other half at this point. Like, that's my boyfriend, that's my man. And I'm not saying my man at this point. I'm thinking, no way. So I'm like, right, okay, fuck it. Like, I'm going to need to go through. And my mum's like, that was not you, eh? Like, you. And I'm like, mother, how dare you even think I would do such a thing? That is the and I'm like, there's a bin in the toilet. She goes, yeah, see, I think she was waiting on me saying about the bin, because then that would immediately make her think you're clear, you know. And it was only us three in the house, you know, like, genuinely. So I'm thinking, well, if it's not been you and it's not been me. It must have been fucking one of you. So it genuinely was like, who's took a fucking shite and no flush the toilet? And like genuinely, that's what it felt like. It was like that recreated in the most awful way ever. It must have been fucking one of you, and I'll tell you that one of us was not fucking me. So I'm like, right, what do? He comes through. So I'm saying he comes through, but actually I go through to the room, and I'm like, and I'm just like, you know, I'm gonna keep it cash. Like I'm just gonna be like. I actually genuinely think I was so scarred, like mentally scarred at this point, like I didn't know how to react. Like how is someone meant to react? So I'm like saying to him, I'm like, so like what? You know, like, he's like, what was that about? And I'm like, so basically my neighbours came up to the, you know, just asking, just wondering why there's dirty toilet paper in her garden. Shite covered toilet paper. Human shit covered toilet paper in her garden. And he just looks at me, and I swear to God, like I must date the craziest liars and manipulators. He looks at me and he's like, what? That's crazy. Like, no way. And I genuinely, I'm like, and obviously I know it was him. Like, my mum wouldn't have done that. That's mortifying. She had to go out and was the one that picked it up. It wouldn't have been her. And I'm thinking to myself, like, why are you lying? Like, come clean right now. And I remember saying to him after that, I was like, it was you. Like, it was literally you. Like, it must have been you. And he's like, literally gaslighting me, going, no, like, I would never have done that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking to myself, right, whatever, shorty, but, like, I know it was you. I'm like, listen, I know it was you, whether you admit to it or not. And that was kind of like my first proper experience of being with a man who's lied straight to my face. Well, actually, no, that was the second time, considering the first one lied about getting, like, grabbed in the club and had hickeys on his neck. That's what I mean. Like, why did they lie to me? Like, I feel like, surely you can't lie to my face. Like, but these men do. So anyway, after that one, I'm, like, mortified. I'm like, right, you know what? And you know what? Like, most girls with self-respect would probably leave. But I really loved them. And, like, I don't know. I'd been going through it. So I stayed with him. I know, that's so embarrassing to say, like, to admit. But anyway, like, 3 months later, I remember, I was still with him, like, 3-4 months later, like, genuinely. This was a long-ass relationship, and I don't know why. Anyway, so I ask him, and I bring it up again. Oh, shouldn't that? And I ask him, and I'm like, are you, like, being fucking for real? Like, surely you can come clean now. Like, this has been months. I stayed with you. Like, you know, like, we in this bitch together, you know, like, come on, lover, like, just admit it. And he admitted it, like, genuinely, he admitted it to my face. He was like, yeah, like, I blocked the toilet and I didn't know what to do. And I genuinely was like, not that, like, you don't just block someone's toilet and then do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not normal. That reminds me of that story that's like when someone had to, like, throw their whole shit out of the window and it, like, got stuck. You know what I mean? Like, I literally, and I'm like, this is worse. Like, you've made my mum pick up your own shit covered toilet paper. Like, my mum did that. My mum was like, I had to go out with a bag covering my hand and I had to pick that up, and I was mortified. Poor my bloody neighbour as well. My mum's like, I was mortified. She's like, my neighbour's been, like, so confused. Like, my neighbour probably thinks she's, like, got, like, a cult above her, like, do the weird shit. And, like, honest to God, it was the most mortifying time of my life. And I still live in that, like, same place. And I know for a fact, like, my neighbour probably still looks down upon me. Like, anytime I probably have a boyfriend or that, she's probably thinking, wow, I wonder what this one's going to do next. Like, is he going to take a shite and fucking out the window? Do you know what I mean? Is he going to, like, just pish? Do you know what I mean? All over my garden. So, I feel kind of bad for her. I feel kind of bad for my mum too, because I should have been probably the one to clean. No, he should have been the one to clean up. This is what I mean for these men. I always cut them so much slack, but that happened, unfortunately. But yeah, so hope he's okay soon. I don't know how, I genuinely, if he ever finds that I've said this, he's probably going to pull up on me, like, genuinely. Like, he genuinely is probably mortified. Actually, do you know what? You genuinely can't do that after admitting it. Fair enough if I was fucking, like, making that shit up, but, like, he literally admitted it to my face. And I had proof as well. There was witnesses. My neighbour downstairs was a witness. Do you know what I mean? She was the victim. She was literally the victim. Like, she straight up was the victim. The damage was done to her. So not only was she, two witnesses, me and my mum, the victim. Literally, she's on the witness stand right now, like, genuinely. Like, we're on the witness stand and he's guilty, charged. That was it. Case closed, both. He's got, like, that's on him. He has to live with that that's one thing I don't understand about men too, is, like, how do you do this shit? Like, how do you do that shit, you know? No, but, like, how do they do this stuff and genuinely not live with a guilty conscience for the rest of their life? I genuinely feel like I could literally, like, I can't even use some people's toilets and stuff, like, genuinely, because it's that scary for me, but he'd genuinely be blocking it and be doing that. Like, that's crazy. That is genuinely crazy. It was the most foul thing that I've ever took part in. And this is the same ex that literally we invited to Christmas, and I had no idea about this. Again, naive. I'm saying naive, but there's only so many times a girl can say naive before it's just not an excuse anymore, and it's actually just like a mental illness. Anyway, so basically, and I remember like this again a few months later. This is after we'd broken up. And genuinely, I was distraught. I do get distraught. I do care a lot. I think like when I do care for people, it is like really like 100%. And it's like of my love, and it's never really like that 50-50 energy. It always kind of feels like, you know, I'm putting in more of the effort, or like I care for them more. And that honestly, like you can't run off a relationship on that. Like genuinely, like if he's not worshipping the ground you walk upon, like run for like genuinely run. So basically, again on the family vacation, my family are all like we're all like making jokes and that, and then it wasn't until it was actually my cousin, who genuinely like throws shots at me all the time. My gran's there, my cousin's there, like, you know, we're all just chilling, and one of them goes, "Oh well, it wasn't like that." Said his name, and it's like, "When he took a shite at that Christmas table, eh?" And I went, "What?" And that's when they all just hysterically burst out with laughter. And I'm thinking, oh my god, like they're in on this, like what is going on? That's when I got filled in to know that basically my grand's table is a big room, and there's a little tiny toilet right beside it. And basically what he'd done was he'd ate so much food, he'd genuinely like shit himself in that little toilet, and it's like in the bottom toilet that's genuinely one door away from the main room. And yeah, it stank out the whole Christmas table. They could smell it for fucking ages, apparently. So they could smell it for ages, apparently, and yeah, it was just the most mortifying thing of my life. So, stream that, genuinely, no, like, but like, to be fair, best closure ever to get over a relationship is finding that out. Like, shout out my family for that one, but I didn't actually need to know, how crazy that was. Yeah, So yeah, if anyone's looking for closure, like if anyone wants to give closure to their friends or family, just tell them a really embarrassing story about them like that they actually don't know about. I'm like, why didn't you tell me that at the time? And they're like, Aleah, if we told you that, you weren't going to leave him. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, you know what, you're probably right on that, but this is the reason I'm not dating anymore. Like, genuinely, every single guy just seems to be nuts. Genuinely, like, they always have to be something, and then I get made out to be like the crazy one too, which is hilarious. It's genuinely like, okay, queen, like, you've just lied to my face for like God knows how long. Like, you actually lying to my face, or like lying like over message, and then they do that shit. Like, just they pull like the craziest stunt ever, and you're like, you know what, you're all good. Like, it's genuinely, it's not that deep anyway. Like, it's one of those ones where it's like you just cringe. Like, you look back and you just cringe at how much effort you put in. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, if anyone has any other really funny dating stories to keep me off dating for life, then please let me know them. I would love to know, and just let me know if you know any funnier ones, or if anyone has any more like kind of shitty kind of ones that top mine. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!